Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the Railway and welcome back to another review of a Dapol diesel. So, strictly speaking, today's model is not actually a diesel, and it's not an electric either. It's actually known as an electro-diesel, which is a little bit of both, and I'll talk a bit more about what that means in a little while. Either way, today's model has an RRP of £146, but I managed to pick mine up from Hatton's for much less, £91 mine cost me, and if you want to do the same, I do have an affiliate links down in the description. For now though, I will show you the model. It is the Dapol Class 73, and it says on the front there, diesel electric locomotive. I have had one of these before. I've reviewed an older Hornby one, but I'm guessing this one will be I'm hoping it will be a considerable improvement on that for the extra money. This model was first announced way back in 2012, I think, and equally I think it was released in 2015, so it's reasonably modern by normal standards, so I'm really looking forward to see what this is like. So let's get it out and find out. So the packaging is pretty much what we'd expect from Dapol, really nice thick cardboard which should do a great job of protecting the model, and of course you can see a line drawing of the class on the front of the box if you didn't know what it looked like already. Anyway, let me show you the end of the box. So this is mine. I went for 4D-006-006. It is a Class 73 and there's the running number there, 73138. It's a Dutch yellow and grey version, Civil Engineers, which I bought that because I thought it would be very interesting, and not because it was by far the cheapest on offer. No, I don't do things like that. Anyway, there's not much to see on the box, so we will get this out straight away and find out what this is like. Are you ready? Okay. I've not had this one apart yet, I don't think. I may have lifted the lid when it came. I've had this a little while. But I'm pretty sure I haven't had this open yet. So we've got quite a big wad of paperwork here actually. So we have a sheet here that's titled Removing the Cab. Ah, yes, top line. It says it's for fitting crew or changing the head codes, which makes some sense. So I probably won't be doing that, although obviously if you wanted to change the head code or fit the crew indeed, that's what you'd need to do. So here we have more of a box standard sheet here. This looks more like the maintenance guide and whatnot. Running in, first use, removing the body, yeah, fitting the decoders, all that good stuff. And on the back we have an exploded diagram there, which is actually quite useful to look at because you can see what sort of motor we've got in there. We've got a large motor centrally mounted with two large flywheels. So that looks great. Really looking forward to seeing how that performs. And then, yes, we've got the sheet about Dapol's no quibble 24-month warranty, which is really quite good. 24 months is a long time for some locomotives, isn't it? Helgen. Okay, let's open up the pack. We have the usual nice protective foam, which is good. And wow, yeah, I've not seen this before. That is quite a striking livery, isn't it? Very striking indeed. Yeah, but it does have British Railways on the side, so I need to really find out the story of that. Why would it be in a Dutch livery, if indeed that's what it is? Either way, let's lift this out then and take a look. Man, that is pretty heavy. I'm expecting, well, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a really heavy chassis on this. Okay, so let's take this out of the sleeve then and have a first look, shall we? So we have a bit of a detail bag here. I don't remember the instructions mentioning the details, but I didn't look all that carefully yet. Okay, so inside there I can see the couplings, so the loco probably just has the sockets on it and no couplings fitted, which is fine. And then it appears to be buffer beam detail, among other bits. Yeah, we've got screw-link couplings, various vacuum fittings, and also some glazing. I don't know whether they'd be for cabs or what. But yeah, I assume most of this stuff hasn't been fitted because the couplings will foul them if they were fitted. So that's good. That's a bit of forethought, isn't it, on that, which is good. Okay, well, let's find out, shall we? I'm really interested to know what these are like. Obviously, Dapol diesels have a fantastic reputation, which I would agree with because the previous diesel I looked at from Dapol was fantastic. Although, no, that was the Great Western railcar. I'm thinking of the 21/29. Yeah, the Great Western railcar wasn't that great. And this, incidentally, has a similar RRP within a few pounds. And straight away, I can see that the level of detail on this model is considerably better. Look at that. Yeah, that is great, isn't it? I actually really like that livery. I don't know whether others will. I assume it's quite an unconventional livery. It's not one that I'm that familiar with. But it looks great, doesn't it? Really, really good. and pretty heavy, as I expected it would be. Yes, it does feel very heavy. So this looks great. I think for the money I paid, this does look great. 91 quid at the moment, very, very happy. So here's a little bit of history on the Class 73, and once I've done that, I will give you some close-ups of this. So the Class 73 was introduced way back in 1962, and as I said earlier, it's actually an electro-diesel locomotive, picking up power either from a third rail, as on the Southern Railway, or generating its own power using the onboard diesel engine. The class was produced from 1962 until 1967, and 49 were built in total. Even though they were very versatile, as their dual power modes afforded, they were quickly outstripped by newer and more powerful engines, meaning that they were either rebuilt or withdrawn entirely. Reportedly, there were also some safety issues with the class as well. The power pickups on the two bogies were supposedly not electrically isolated, meaning that when a locomotive entered a new section of track powered by a different substation, this was known to cause fires. And yeah, I can imagine there would be some serious fireworks when that happened. It's a little bit like when you open points between two separately powered circuits of track on your model railway. Yeah, the controllers don't like it, and if you imagine a massive power station having the same thing done to it, yeah, pretty scary stuff. Nonetheless, a handful do survive in preservation. Okay, so there it is up close and personal for you, and I think this very much proves me right in deriding the Dapol Great Western railcar for being too expensive for what it was, because this model, as a cheaper model, is clearly a much more complex model with many, many more separately fitted parts and a lot more assembly required. It's very, very impressive stuff, and at first glance, bearing in mind I haven't seen it run yet, I would say this is very much a quality model. So we'll first talk about the weight. This weighs in at an impressive 425 grams, which is pretty heavy, I would say, for a loco of this size. It's nearly 100 grams heavier than the Hornby Class 73, which in itself wasn't dreadfully light. But as I say, the model so far has really, really impressed me. We'll talk first of all about the livery and the decoration, because it's done very, very well. And just looking at the side view here, you can see just how many different colours are actually used on this model. So of course you've got the yellow and then what I would consider a sort of weird green on the bottom. Often with slightly cheaper models, the join between different colours like that can be a little bit sloppy, and I've seen many times sort of bleeding between the two. Not with this one though, as you can tell, the transition is very, very crisp and ruler straight. We've also got the yellow lining along, well, just underneath the roof, as you can see, or orange I suppose it is really, isn't it, which is done well. And then you've got tiny little details such as the warning signs just above one of the presumably service doors there, which looks great. Even the bogies have got some paintwork on them. I assume these would be wires in real life, but yeah, they have been painted, which is great. I should say, on a side note, I'm no expert on the prototype, so I can't really speak as far as accuracy is concerned. My reviews, as you know, are more geared towards quality, value for money, performance, that sort of thing. But where the paintwork is concerned, as you can see by the running number and BR logo here, it is done very, very well. And in fact, all of the tampo printed details are really, really good, it must be said. And the cabs look great as well. As you can tell, they're painted in the black, and tiny details such as the door handles there have been separately painted really, really well too. They almost look separately fitted because the painting is done so very well on those. And another thing to note is that the handrails besides the doors are all separately fitted as well, and I believe they're wire because they're relatively sturdy, which is great. Also separately fitted are all of the grills, which appear to be etched. I think the most impressive ones are the larger ones here on the sides, because you can see there is detail behind those. Some of the other grills are very good, don't get me wrong, but you can see parts of the loco mechanism which aren't generally very realistic. For example, I can see what looks like a DCC socket behind that one, and the same thing goes with some of the glazed windows, but it really isn't much of a complaint at all. The roofs are very well done. As you can see, we have the separately fitted horns here, more separately fitted grills. The ones on the roof are incredibly fine, actually quite impressive to see those. Very, very, very fine indeed. And then over on the other end, you can see we do have a fan behind the grille there. Unlike the Hornby one, there is a physical fan underneath there. At this point, I don't know whether that turns or not. I would probably guess not, but we'll definitely take a look and see whether it does. Probably the most impressive feature of these models for me though is the underframe and bogie detail, because you can see what a lot is going on those bogies. Whether or not most of those details are just moulded, I'm not too sure. It probably is all just moulded, But there are just so many components compacted into such a tiny space there. It's just wonderful to see. And the same thing goes with the underframe. It's completely different to the very simplified Hornby/Lima Class 73s. Yeah, this one has an awful lot more detail to it, and I think it looks fantastic as a result of that. The ends are very good as well. As you can see, the various fittings beneath the cab windows are all separately fitted, and they look very convincing and fine as well. On the windows, we have the separately fitted wipers. They are not just moulded and painted onto the windscreens, which is really, really good. And the buffer beams, as you can tell, don't have a lot of detail fitted onto them yet, but we did have that all included in the detail bag, so you can fit it if you'd like to. And yes, the instructions did cover how to fit that, by the way. The NEM sockets are a part of the bogie though, and they're not pivoted at all, so I'm hoping they're not going to swing out too much on the curves and cause derailments. I think that's something that I've seen a lot from Dapol before, so slight trepidation where that's concerned. We do, however, have separately fitted metal buffers on the buffer beams, which are sprung, which is really, really good to see. The cabs themselves are relatively basic in that they don't have any painted detail inside, but you can see that we do at least have the controls, the various controls on the seats and things moulded into there, which is really, really good. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the detail. There is a lot going on here, and also I expect there will be lights working on this model too, which should be good. We'll give those a try in just a second. So as far as the detail is concerned, it's very, very impressive indeed. Now, the big issue for me is going to be performance. Please cross your fingers, because I've not had that much luck with Dapol diesels and things in the past where performance is concerned. So please, please, please let this one be a good runner, and I think we'll have ourselves a really good score coming with this one. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, so there it is, the Dapol 73 down onto the track, ready for its first test. And yeah, so far I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. It's a lot better than I expected it to be for the money. Mechanically, it's very, very good. As we've already partly seen, we saw the motor obviously on the instructions. I believe it's a 5-pole motor, 2 nice big flywheels, really, really good. It appears to have all-wheel drive and all-wheel pickup. The pickup seems to be done through the axles, I think. The only thing I would criticise with the mechanism is that the bogie bases are clipped into place and not screwed into place. No doubt that makes the manufacture nice and cheap and easy, but for servicing down the line, it gets very, very fiddly, because it's often very awkward to get those bases off. There is a hole for lubrication, so oiling isn't a problem at all, but when I service a loco, I like to clean the axles, and that's probably more important with this, because the axles pick up. Yeah, I'm not too keen on that, and of course, obviously, as the plastic gets older and brittle, clips like those are more inclined to break, whereas screws can usually last a lot longer. But generally speaking, yeah, the performance I'm expecting to be really good, because we've got a decent mechanism inside here. So, puzzlingly, the instructions say that no running in is required. You should just run it to start with and just watch carefully to make sure everything's okay. I don't know why that would be, because if the motor has brushes, then as far as I'm concerned, it needs to be run in. Unless the brushes are sort of manufactured to fit the armature, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I'd still recommend running it in. But either way, we're going to give this a try and see what goes on with this. So I'm going to set it to forwards and give it its first ever run. So here we go, turning up gently, looking out for lights, and hopefully we get a good crawl from this. And no fires, hopefully. Although that would be prototypical. Oh, look at that. I was not expecting it to start that gently. Look at that, that's a great crawl. Wow, straight out of the box. I guess they were right. No running in is required to get good performance. But I'm going to do it anyway, just to look after the motor. Backwards. Oh, yes. Now, I don't know how necessary it would be for a loco like this to be able to do a good crawl, but the fact that it can is definitely not a complaint, although it has now cut out. Oh dear. Let's give it a nudge, shall we? There we go. Oh, that's strange. I've just cleaned the track as well. Make sure it's all together. Yeah. Okay, so it's a little bit ropey at the higher speeds. Yeah, stopping quite a bit. It's actually a good crawl, but yeah, that was. It does seem to be going a bit on the slow side, doesn't it? That, and stopping quite a lot. Yeah. So the crawl was good, but otherwise the performance doesn't seem to be. Oh no. I might try giving it a bit of oil to see if that improves it, but it's not liking that express point, is it? How can that be? Right, I'm going to take this to the bench. I'm going to make sure that each wheel is actually picking up, and I might give the mechanism a bit of oil too. Okay, so I've been able to access the motor and apply some light lubrication to its bearings. Not something you should have to do, of course, with a brand new model, but I've done it anyway, just for the sake of the review. It's far from ideal though, because there was quite some disassembly required. I think I had to remove 12 screws in order to get access to the motor. Most people probably won't want to have to do that with a brand new loco. So hopefully that will be better. The other thing is that the method of picking up, which appears to be through the axles, is not very effective. I've tested it and I'll test it for you in just a second. But yeah, the continuity is intermittent at best. I don't quite understand why Dapol have had to do things differently to the way they've always been done and not just used wiper pickups. I mean, it's great that they're doing things different to all the other manufacturers. I salute that. But at the end of the day, if being different means being less effective, then why bother? Why not just use pickups? Because they work at the end of the day. Anyway, I've got power. Let me show you what I mean. I'll put power onto these wheels first and show you what happens. Dead. Or intermittent, as I say. I think intermittent's the right word. Hold power on, keep stopping, as you can tell. Next one. That one's better, so those two are good. This one, dead. Oh, twitched. If I juggle it around, no, that one's completely not working at all. This one started off all right, has stopped now. Again, intermittent. It's not the best. You want every single wheel to be conducting perfectly, really, straight out of the box at least. Not very impressive. Anyway, it's been lubricated. Let's try it again. Okay, let's go again. Oops, I don't think I've actually got it on the track. That might help. Are we on properly now? Right, let's try again. Yeah, it's not speeding up, that's for sure. But what I think I might do is just get it started. I'm going to set it to about half speed, let it run in, and I won't cast any final judgment until it's run for a good, say, half an hour in each direction. Straight out of the box, though, the performance is poor, as I've seen many times, well, at least twice before, with the 121 bubble cars and the Sentinels. Yeah, not impressed with performance so far, not at all. It's laughable, isn't it? How can they do this consistently and have dodgy runners? It's very similar to the 121 really, in that it's very unreliable, and I think it's also derailed. Let's go and put that wheel back on the track. I could have put it on wrong, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt there. I'm gutted, folks, because I really like the look of this one. How can it be? It's got 8 wheels picking up. How can it be stuttering so badly? Right, let's keep an eye on those bogies, see if they're going to derail. No, not. Oh, yeah, derailed again on that curve. Okay, so that's how I found it. Now, I'll have to make this speech again just so that everybody's clear. My track work is obviously not the best. Okay, that's true. It's on the floor, I know, I understand. But I've got a massive collection. I've got nearly 400 engines. Derailments are very, very rare. So I know I've said this before, but if a loco consistently derails on my track, I don't feel unjustified in blaming the locomotive. And there's certainly something pretty unhealthy about the way the bogies just hang off this thing. I did think that earlier on, but I wasn't going to say anything if it didn't cause any trouble. What can you say? And I can also prove that it's a design flaw. Here is the Hornby 73. Watch what happens when I lift up one wheel of the bogie. See that? See how the other wheel stays on the track? In other words, we've got forwards and backwards rotation in the bogie. Same thing's true if I lift up the other end. You ready? See? Lift that up. The other wheel stays on the track. Now let me show you what happens when I do the same thing with the Dapol version. Are you ready? So I'll lift up the end of this bogie. Oh. No rotation. The whole loco lifts up. It's only when I lift up this end that we get any rotation. See? I think that's what's doing it. If the track's not perfectly level, you get wheels lifting up off the track and derailing. I think that's what's doing it. So here you can see it in action then. Because of that lack of rotation, this loco derails where other locomotives don't. Yet another Dapol locomotive let down by a bit of a design flaw. Here comes the Hornby Railroad one. No problem. Let's do it again. Yep, again. Okay, still perfect as you can see. Right, let's try the Dapol again. Here it comes limping along, running considerably worse. And there we go, bogey's off. And then when it reaches the points, there we go. So hopefully to anybody watching this and blaming the track, hopefully that demonstrates that that makes no sense. Try it on another line then, see if it does any better on the middle line. Okay, I think we might be alright. So it might have to be that this one just runs on the middle line. Let's see if it gets all the way around. So this one seems to be pretty sensitive to imperfect track. But even so, even on perfectly straight track, as you can see, it's still lurching along and cutting out and such. Yeah, the pickups are not great, but at least it's running properly now, so I can run it in for the allotted time, and we'll see if it's any better after that. Okay, running in has concluded. And the good news is that the running in does seem to have improved the motor speed somewhat. It is now running at a bit of a better rate, contrary to what the instructions said. The instructions claim that this didn't need any specific running in period. I do disagree with that. I think any motor with brushes does need running in, because if you load this loco up with loads and loads of coaches before the brushes in the motor have had chance to mould to the shape of the commutator, you end up with a lot of current passing through a very small contact area on the brush, which of course generates a lot of heat and can damage the surface of the commutator, and it can also cause the brush to sort of break up and bits of it get stuck between the commutator plates, etc, etc. I think it's always a good idea to run in your locos. The bad news is I've noticed that the pickup situation hasn't improved with running. The contacts don't seem to have worn clean during the period. It's still stuttering quite a lot on various curves and points and things, and I will just try and do a bit of a crawl now over these express points. Well, you can see already what a mess that was. Let's do that again. Set it not at a complete crawl, but at a reasonably slow speed. Obviously, with all-wheel pickup, that should not be cutting out like that on the points. It is very strange the way it cuts out. It seems to save itself and get running again. So yeah, just a very, very strange method of picking up. As you can see, yeah, the dead zone on the points floors it every single time, which is crazy because all wheels are supposed to pick up. It has died for good that time. Anyway, the pulling force is really, really good. I measured 0.76 newtons. Oh, it's off again. Stop it. Yeah, not impressive at all. 0.76 newtons, which is enough to haul around 43 coaches on straight and level track, which for a loco of this size, I think is quite impressive. I've not gone that far though. I've just set up, I think, 7 coaches, 7 chocolate and cream coaches, which should, I think, be enough to demonstrate that she's a reasonable puller. So with that, let's get her coupled to the coaches and see how she performs. Hopefully she doesn't derail them with her constant jerking. Come on. Okay. Right, was that a successful coupling? Let's see. Okay, yes. So, yeah, we got one thing right, I guess. The coupling seems to be at the right height, and it has engaged with the locos, despite them having a slightly different coupling on them. They've got the large D-type. Okay, let's try some acceleration then, just to show what sort of power puller this one is. I'll ram it up to 50% straight away, and we'll see how it takes off. Not very well, because it keeps cutting out. Right, let's see if it stays on the track, shall we? Yep, it seems to, and the reliability seems to improve a little bit at the higher speeds as well. With coaches, at least, it doesn't seem to be pulling them off the track due to its swinging couplings, which is very good. I will try it with some smaller wagons, though, just to verify that for you. Okay, so I will show you what else is running. I've got the Hornby Class 73, of course, which is a better runner. I've got to say it's far, far more reliable. It is less powerful, of course, because it does only have one driven bogie and it's quite a bit lighter. But as far as performance goes, I would take this one any day over the Dapol at the moment. But there it goes with some Southern Region coaches, which I think look really nice. Oof, she's quite quick. Slow that one down a little bit, I think. And then on the inside line, we have the Class 71, which is another beautiful electric. That's a Hornby one, and is a very, very good runner. Love that one to bits. Okay, let's have a run with the new 73 then, and see how it gets on. So as you can tell, besides the cutting out, it is running quite well now. The lights are good, the lights you can notice are on. And it's reasonably smooth, except when it reaches a point or a curve. Yeah, the running isn't terrible. Yes, I've had to do quite a lot to get it to that stage. I've had to take the whole thing apart and basically oil all the moving parts. But if you're willing to do that, you might get a decent runner on your hands. Well, I don't know about that. The cutting out's very distracting. Yeah, but it could be worse. Look at that one go. Cool. Great run of that one. It really goes for it down the hill. So here's a look at my ratings for the Dapol Class 73. I thought the level of detail was actually really, really good. I've given it 4 stars. I was impressed with this more than I expected to be. In order to have given it a 5, it would have needed a painted cab and more realistic interiors behind some of the grills as opposed to just the loco chassis, but otherwise very, very good. The performance obviously is the biggest letdown with this model. The slow speed, I suppose, is the only saving grace. We've got derailments on track that isn't perfectly level, so if you've got a perfectly flat layout, you might be okay, but if you've got any inclines, particularly curved ones, you're not going to have a very good day. Also, there's a lot of faltering when it runs because of the dodgy pickups, and mine didn't run very well at all straight out of the box. It was very, very slow, flickering lights. I actually had to dismantle the whole thing to get a little bit of oil to the motor before it would run acceptably. Although with some running in, even though the instructions claim the model doesn't need it, with some running in, the performance does get a lot better, but it's still not fit for purpose for the most part as far as I'm concerned. The pulling power when working properly is very, very good. I measured 0.76 newtons, which is about 43 coaches on straight and level track. That is very, very good, I would say, and definitely more than adequate. The mechanism I've given a 3-star. Generally, despite how badly it runs, the mechanism is pretty good. You've got a decent sized motor, nice big flywheels, all-wheel pickup, not that it helps, but the bogie bases are clipped on rather than screwed on, which makes servicing a bit of a nightmare, and obviously the choice of pickup is a poor one in my opinion, and they do not work properly. The quality then I was going to give 5 stars to, but I don't think it would make much sense to give 5-star on quality to a loco that doesn't run right, but generally speaking the build quality is very, very good, and there's a lot of metal on the chassis which makes it good and heavy. Can't give it a 5 though. Same thing's true with the value though. I can't give a loco 5 out of 5 on value if it doesn't run properly. If it did run properly, I would, yes, give it a 5 out of 5 on value, because I think for what you get, at least where the detail is concerned, the price isn't unreasonable. Overall then, it's a shame because I really like this. It started off first half really, really liking it. If only it was a better runner, I would have given it a much better score. As it is though, 6.96 out of 10, yeah, a disappointing score I would say. Into the ranking logbook it goes 12th, just above the Great Western Railcar and below the Mahano cargo train set. Yeah, I'm gutted. I really expected this to be better. Anyway folks, so here's the situation. The performance out of the box was terrible. Really, really bad. However, after some work and after some running in, the loco is now running much, much better. Now I've thought about amending the score to give it maybe a 2 or 3 on performance. The problem being though that with the likes of the 121 bubble car, oh, little stutter there, the performance went downhill again very, very quickly the next time I ran it from cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the scores as they are for now, but next time I run it, if I run it again in a few days time, well tomorrow even, after it's truly cooled down, if it runs properly and doesn't slow back down again and start running badly, I might consider revisiting the score and changing it on the rankings and reallocating it. Whether that's really fair or not, I'm not too sure, because I don't allow other locos to redeem themselves over time. But yeah, I want to be as fair as possible and I want that to be clear. So we'll see what happens. For now though, I think I'm going to leave it as it was. If it is able to maintain this better performance the next time I run it, I will pin a comment in the top. of the comment section on this video to let you know that that's been done. At the moment, I'm not sure whether that will or not. We will have to wait and see. It would be nice though, wouldn't it? So overall, yeah, it's a great looking model. The details there, the value for money is there. It's so close to being a good one. If only it ran well, I'd be very, very, very pleased indeed with this for what I paid. But alas, that wasn't to be. I suppose I could once again have been unlucky with this one. I don't think so, because this has happened too many times, but that is a possibility. So let me know in the poll, what's your gut feeling? Do you expect that it was luck, or do you think that, yeah, there is a design issue going on with this? Let me know what you think. I don't think it was luck personally, but I can't say that it wasn't for sure. So to be absolutely fair, it could be luck. There we go. But for now, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry that it wasn't a truly positive outcome, but I gave it the fairest shot, I think. So thanks for watching, folks. Have a great week, and I will see you very, very soon. Cheers, everybody.